as long as you want to put me on the field and you want to play me, that's fine. I will play wherever you want me to play because we all want to play, right? I don't want to sit on the bench. I'd rather be on the field.
Hi, and welcome to Fit Kids Conversations. I'm your host, David Jacobson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Heather Mitts Feeley, a three-time Olympic gold medalist in soccer and former NCAA champion, two-time All-American, World Cup silver medalist. The list goes on, but I want to get Heather's voice in here as soon as possible. So Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, David. Appreciate being on here and speaking about, how kids can stay fit and active and get the most out of what they're doing.
Can you summarize what it's been kind of post soccer?
It's interesting because so many people talk about how hard it is for the men who play sports when they retire, but they don't really mention the women. And I think for me, it was very difficult because my identity was so much surrounded by the sport that I played. And so then it was when I retired, it was trying to figure out who I wanted to be without that sport and all the things that I wanted to still accomplish before having my own children. And so it was a little bit of a whirlwind. I had some great opportunities that I took advantage of. I dabbled a little bit in starting my own company. And now I've kind of landed in a place because of where I am in my life with three kids, wanting to be home more. Now I have an opportunity to try to bring a women's professional team to Philadelphia that includes an entire pathway that gives more opportunities to young girls. It's a full ecosystem, and it's something that I'm really excited to be a part of.
Well, that sounds wonderful and really impactful for the young women of the Philadelphia area, as well as other clubs who might follow that example and have this spread more nationally. So good on you for making that effort. Would love to talk a little bit about your experience growing up playing multiple sports and your views on the best ways for kids, especially the K-8 kids that Fit Kids focuses on, to become fit, to make that central in their lives, and whether that translates into organized sports or not, just the importance of fitness and how to go about it.
I was really active. I played multiple sports when I was younger. I was lucky because my parents were really into a lot of sports. They would drag us with them to the tennis courts while they played. We would just kind of run around. I had two siblings. So we were always either playing a sport in the backyard or my brother and I were going rollerblading. But we played a lot of different sports. My mom actually thought I was like hyperactive. And so she's like, I'm just going to put her in as many sports as possible to try to tire her out. And that was just such a blessing for me because it allowed me to try a lot of different things and to kind of figure out what exactly it was that I liked. Just by having physical activity in my life, I saw that that was one of the best ways to not only produce endorphins when you're working out, but also to go out there and to focus your energy on something that you love, which was sport for me. Eventually, after my freshman year, because I had two other siblings, my mom asked me to pick one sport to focus on. And I was playing multiple at the time. And when I said soccer, she said, well, you can't play soccer when you get old. And I said, that's okay, because I love it. I love it. And I think that's what it comes down to is, having that opportunity just to play multiple sports and then figure out what you truly love. And if you have to focus on that one thing, then you can give it your all and you can make sure that you follow your passion. And if you're following your passion, that's ultimately always going to lead to success.
I'm curious if your fitness, by playing all those different sports, kind of blossomed organically just by virtue of being involved in different sports. Did you train specifically for the sports, meaning in terms of your base fitness not the sports skills, but the base fitness. Did you train differently for each, and did they translate sport to sport?
I think a lot of them translated. Back when I was growing up, I would basically just go to my practices and that was enough. But I also had a brother that was 18 months younger than me. So a lot of times we would go out in the backyard and always be playing some type of sport. So that was extra hidden fitness, and um, I would play, soccer, and then we would go into, the basketball season. So obviously, because of the soccer, I was already fit for basketball. And then that was like a year on thing. I would just go from sport to sport to sport, switching up per season. And it wasn't till I guess I went to college that I really focused on my fitness per se. And I made my fitness, a really important piece of my soccer playing career. Something you know, I credit my longevity to because I could focus on my fitness and that was something that I could become really good at. And so then that way, when I went out there on the soccer field, I was always fit and I didn't have to worry about getting tired. I could go out there and I could still have fun and I could just work to my best ability based on that fitness level. And so that really helped me throughout my entire playing career.
That makes perfect sense. I'm dying to ask, what were your favorite fitness routines or exercises, and what were most dreaded?
Honestly, like I loved running, and I know not everybody is like that, but I just saw how it really helped me, and it gave me an advantage over everybody else in the soccer field was my fitness base. So I loved fitness. I had a really good mentality about it. I enjoyed it. It was just something that I was like, this is something I know if I work hard at, like I can be the best. And so I liked everything. I mean, people laugh at me because I loved the beep test. I loved running 800s. I loved doing sprints. And there wasn't anything that I didn't enjoy because I knew that those things were going to help me to become a better soccer player. If you have that endurance base, like those are hard, but if you build that base, then they're enjoyable because you become good at them. So there's not many things that when it comes to like a fitness perspective that I shy away from. Now if it's lifting heavy weights in a setting like that, that's something that I'm like, I'm not as good as at that. So I have to be mindful of doing things properly and making sure I don't get hurt. But when it comes to anything cardio, that was just something I always, from a mental standpoint, I always just embraced and still do.
Talk a little bit, if you will, about your children's fitness journey, and especially with their dad being a former NFL player and everything. They're really kind of getting the best of the best. What's that been like for your family?
It's been fun. They love it every single day. They come home from school, we do their homework, and then they're like, "All right, can we go out in the backyard and can we play something?" So some days it's basketball, some days it's just baseball. We play soccer. We actually play tennis and pickle also. So it's just like pick your poison and let's go outside, let's be active, and let's just do stuff together. And that really, I'm fortunate because that's what my parents did with me. And my dad was a doctor, so he wasn't at home as much as we would have liked. But when he had an opportunity, we were out in the backyard doing stuff. So I benefited from that. And I feel like I just want to pass that on to my kids because I feel like when the parents are involved, it just becomes more fun. Sure, there's days where I wish that they would go out in the backyard, which they did yesterday, and they would play by themselves when I have to like cook dinner or something. But for the most part, I like being out there with them. We have a lot of fun. We enjoy it. There's a competitive spirit sometimes, and I have to remind them like this is fun. We're just playing a game, but I remember those days with my brother and I in the backyard. We were always going at it. So, I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for those things growing up.
Let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. As I mentioned off screen before, I love asking former Olympians about their aha Olympic moment, like when you realized you'd really made it, you were really there. Whether it be competitively or in the Olympic Village or opening ceremonies or whatever. If you have a moment picked out, can you describe it for us?
For me, it was in 2008. So I had gone to the 2004. I was just happy to be there. I played a little bit. Luckily won an Olympic gold medal. And then those women that paved the way for us in women's soccer retired. I got my opportunity to then be a starter. And I actually tore my ACL in 2007. So that was the year before I missed the World Cup. And, I think there was a part of me that wasn't sure if I was going to make it back for the Olympics, but that was just my goal from like the minute I tore my ACL. I was like, just make the team. Like, let's do everything we can to make the team. And so I was actually training like three times a day, just trying to make up for that lost time. And so I ended up making the roster. And from the minute that I was able to put on that USA jersey again and to basically try out for that team, I left it all on the field every single minute because I realized through my injury how much I loved playing and how much I missed it, and how every minute playing on that field is just like so important to me personally. So I just had a whole new perspective and gratitude for that sport. And so I think when we ended up winning in 2008 and I was standing up on that podium, it was just like that aha moment. Like, not only did I come back from that injury, but it was also like mentally and physically, if we can push ourselves, like what we're capable of achieving is pretty amazing.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about your broadcasting career as well. If you can let us know, what are you working on specifically in broadcasting these days?
When I first retired from playing, I was doing a lot of broadcasting. That was like my main job. Even when I started having my kids, I was still juggling both. And then there became a point during COVID, that, I ended up losing my job with ESPN actually. Um, and so I stopped, and that was okay. I was very grateful for the time that I had and the experiences. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on my family now and my kids because they were young. And recently I had an opportunity to go and do a USL broadcast, and it was a lot of fun to be back out there on the sideline and to be around the sport, to see what's going on in the wonderful world of the USL, and to be a part of that experience. So I have a couple more games coming up, and it's great because I can juggle my home life and going and doing something that I love on the side.
Well, let's put in a plug for USL. Again, as we were discussing off screen, it's a wonderful league, and what they're doing here in the Bay Area with Oakland Roots and Oakland Soul, the women's team is amazing. I think they've got similar initiatives in some of the other cities. So what's your take on the uniqueness of USL and why people should watch those matches?
Well, I think a lot of people are aware of the NWSL, which has been highly successful and is one of the best leagues in the world, but they only, have spots for 220 girls. And so the USL is a brand new league that's starting actually this fall. And they're starting with 8 teams, and the men's side has already been established. They've been around for 10 plus years, highly successful, and now they're focusing on the women's. But what I love the most about the USL is the fact that it not only has a professional women's team, but it also has an academy and it has a club team. So it has an entire pathway, which creates many more opportunities for young girls to be able to have an opportunity to dream one day playing at the highest level. And having the entire pathway just creates more opportunities for little girls to play. We know that soccer has had a big boom here in this country. And, I think just creating more of those opportunities for young girls is really a positive that I want to be a part of.
Can you talk about the specifics of your vision for the team that you're bringing to Philadelphia, what that path looks like in terms of actually having the franchise granted and launching it, and what it's going to look like when it's done? Any information on that that you can and care to share?
Our goal is to have a team here by 2025. So the first year for the league is going to be this year. We're hoping to get in by the second year. They're expanding. Hopefully, they're gonna double every single year. So 8 teams the first year, 16 by the next, in various locations. And eventually, the pro team comes first, and then you have the academy, and then you have the club teams. And having a bunch of girls that are basically learning the same system that you're playing at the top level allows you to, really groom these players, teach them the skills, teach them the system, teach them, how you want to play by the time that you become a pro. So it's a really unique opportunity um, to embrace here in the United States as far as like an ecosystem is concerned, and create more opportunities. Also, it's a chance to give these little girls something to dream about. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, there's this old saying, you have to see it to be it. And the
Hmm.
examples obviously came before you, specifically the 99ers. Who brought you along that way in terms of inspiration, or saying, hey, that's something I could do?
I got invited into the under 21 national team camp, and we happened to have it out in Chula Vista, California. The U.S. women's national team was playing against China in the Rose Bowl at the finals of the '99 World Cup. And so, since we were close and we were a feeder team, they thought it would be a great opportunity for us to go and to see that game in person. And so, my entire team went. We painted our faces and our bodies in red, white, and blue. And I was there. I was there in 1999. And after Brandi Chastain scored that final goal, and all eyes were on her. Mine were actually on her teammates as they came from all different vantage points in the field to celebrate as a team. And I had never even thought about playing for the U.S. Women's National Team or wanted to, but in that moment, I was like, I want to do that someday. And so that's when my dream kind of became a vision. And I decided to continue training, and the first ever women's pro league would start a year later because of the '99 Women's World Cup win. And so I got an opportunity to play in that league. And next thing you know, I would be getting called into national team camps and find myself at my first Olympics. And it was thanks to those women, those women from the '99 World Cup, that I had that dream and I was able to live it out.
So you were in the building for that iconic
I,
moment with Brandi
I was in
Chastain.
the building.
Yeah,
Yes.
good for you.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was your mentality that you brought to overcoming people's preconceived notions about, what a soccer player could be and should be?
Yeah, I am. I'm 5'4". I was, 120 pounds. I was definitely one of the smaller players on all of my teams, but I was, I always had this mentality like, I'm not tiny. I'm tenacious. I'm never going to give up. I'm going to work harder than you. I'm never giving up. And I think that served me really well. I was also a defender. I was an outside back primarily, but I also played center back at one point in my career. And I remember when my coach came to me because we had just lost our center back. She was an amazing player. And he said, I want you to play center back. And I had never played there, but I was just thinking, like, I'm 5'4". Like, how am I going to win these headers against these women in this league? And then I embraced it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my best. And that's all you can ever do. And once I embraced that role, I mean, you would have never known that I was 5'4". I was going up for headers. I was going in for tackles. I was embracing my role. And because I played center back, that allowed me to make the Olympic team the next year, because the more positions you play, the better opportunity you have of making a smaller roster for the Olympics. And for a back, you want to be able to play across the entire back line. So, secretly, my coach knew that. Like he knew that I needed to play center back also, and to be able to give myself a shot of making the team. And I'm so grateful for him putting me in that position. And I ended up playing there, center back for the U.S. Women's National Team at the very beginning of my career. And eventually I moved to outside back, which ended up being my best position. But versatility is key. And I think any position that a coach puts you in, sometimes it's hard, but the more open-minded you are, like the more possibility you have of being on a team because of the more positions you can play.
Terrific. I think that's a really important message for kids and parents who are involved in organized youth sports, to not necessarily gripe. First of all, your kid is 8 years old or whatever, and if he or she can't be the pitcher or the shortstop or one of the star positions on the baseball team, by way of analogy, don't fret and don't disrupt the team chemistry on the basis of that, when it's actually best for your child to
Yes.
experience all the different positions.
Yes.
That
I agree. And I even in soccer, I played every position at one point. I played goalkeeper, I played forward, I played center mid, I played outside mid. So defense ended up being my best position, but I tried them all out, and um I don't even know if it's like I have a favorite position. As long as you want to put me on the field and you want to play me, that's fine. I will play wherever you want me to play, because we all want to play, right? I don't want to sit on the bench. I'd rather be on the field.
Can you talk about what you see as the best path for kids in terms of having fitness be a part of their lives, even if it's not related to sports?
Yeah, just figuring out what you like. I think that's the most important thing. It's trying different things, as long as you're outside, as long as you're, doing something active that you enjoy. That's the most important thing. It could be fishing. It could be, just going for hikes. It doesn't have to be a sport, but I think just figuring out the things that you're interested in, the things that you like to do, um, and that keep you outside and engaged, like that's such a positive in anyone's life.
What other things do you have going? As I read a little bit about gold medal mentality. Are those conversations or presentations going on still? And can you describe those?
I guess once I retired, I just kind of looked back on my career and thought how fortunate I was, and how having a positive mindset really helped me to thrive. And so I started doing some speaking, which takes a lot of my stories, and they're not all soccer stories, but the majority of them are, and talks about those things and how they lead to success. Um, so, for instance, giving yourself permission to imagine a positive outcome, owning your identity, learning what you can control, demanding more from yourself, uh, and just not ever stopping until you're successful. Those are like the main topics that I talk about. Um, and I was so fortunate to have had the opportunity to play sports that helped me to success, but it's a lot of the other things along the way that I have learned, that have just made me who I am today, and how I feel like they can inspire others.
And do these presentations go to corporations or sports teams?
I think that anybody that has a sports background, because I tell a lot of sports stories, they totally understand everything that I'm talking about. But I think corporations get a lot out of it because, you know, they want to have the positive mindset. And, in order to achieve an Olympic gold medal, you know, it took a lot of mental work on my end, and how that translates to in the business world is very similar.
Well, Heather, you've done a wonderful job speaking with us today, and I really appreciate it. We've got just a few minutes left, so I want to give you the opportunity to let us know where we can find you and social media, website, anything like that, and then any closing thoughts on anything that we've discussed today.
Sure. So I'm H Mitts 2 on Instagram, and I'm Heather Mitts fan page on Facebook. Those are my two main things. And I think from a mom's perspective, I just see with my own kids and their own journey, um, that allowing them to do the things that make them the happiest is the most important. I think because I played soccer, my husband played football, um, that we are wanting them to play the same sports as we did. But I think, just in my own journey, my mom wanted me to play tennis, my dad wanted me to play basketball. I went soccer, and I understand that by following your passion, that's the most important thing. So I think for parents, giving their kids the opportunity to try out multiple things to figure out what their kids really do love, and then just being their cheerleaders, just supporting them, allowing them the opportunities to learn through the sports that they're playing, because there's so many lessons in there about how to work with others, overcoming adversity, the camaraderie, having an active life, and thriving at something that you enjoy to do is the most important thing.
Terrific. Thanks so much for that, Heather, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, David, and good luck to everybody in your active journey, and have fun out there.